Now, the benefits and drawbacks of online advertising. Let's look at the pros first. Advertising is accessible on demand 24 hours a day. You can go and click on content, any sort of content you want at any time. Distribution costs are low, so reaching 1 million targets is the same as reaching one. In the grand scheme of things, compared to traditional media, it really does not cost a lot to have an online presence. Content drives access, so opportunities for market segmentation are great. The fact that you can have extremely niche formats of content out there to satisfy just about every sort of interest, and the number of channels and means by which that can happen are pretty much limitless. So you are able to reach out to just the perfect person if you're savvy enough to make sure that your content gets to that proper person. Content can be updated, supplemented, or changed at any time. It's very easy to go change a little bit of code or to upload a new piece of audio or video, especially nowadays with the technology, most of us being able to carry it in our pocket to do it at least in a simple sort of fashion. Responses are highly measurable because you can look into the data. You can look into the analytics and see how well your content is engaging with its audience. And navigation is easy. It's become much easier in the past 20 years to be able to find the things that you're looking for online through search engines. Once you get to your content, it's become much easier to develop websites to be able to put the content on there that you want, where even those that are more novice in the ways that they build things online are able to do so in a fairly effective way. Now, what about the cons? There's no clear standard for measuring success. There's all sorts of data, and there's all sorts of ways to be able to see what is happening. But the standards and the means by which those numbers come about are going to be different from platform to platform to platform. The variety of advertising formats on the internet is so great that comparisons from ad to ad are difficult. So it's the idea of what type of internet advertising is going to work best, what has the best reach, what has the best retention, which gets the best results, and how much is that worth? Traditional advertising needs ratings, share, reach, ratings, share, reach, and frequency are difficult to assess, because again, the measurements are not the same as what we've seen with traditional broadcasting. The audience is still small. That argument is dwindling away pretty quickly. Online service providers store or cache web pages to speed up delivery to subscribers. The original site server doesn't record page views properly. This has become less and less of a problem with more people accessing broadband internet, and refresh rates are becoming more frequent. But there still is the possibility of, especially if you visit a site very often, that you may have information stored on your computer from that website, and you may not necessarily have the latest and greatest on your screen unless you consciously choose to refresh that page. Text-only browsers, and yes, they are still a thing and people still use them. Text-only browsers allow images to be turned off and advertising is not viewed. So there is that. If the page is longer than the browser view in the space that you're looking at on your screen, advertiser content at the bottom of the page may not be seen. So that's why a lot of times banners tend to be on the top part of a web page. And users may leave a page before an ad downloads. And especially with pages that have a lot of rich content to them, that can still be a problem. The Internet Advertising Report says it's important that ads not be too intrusive, and we believe the more an advertisement seems like a value-added service to the user and less like an invasion of privacy, the more successful that ad will be in driving traffic or business to wherever it is connected. We're still pretty much, for the most part, in kind of a philosophy where the things that we do online and the advertising that we see online, especially if you're advertising in several different forms of media, that internet advertising tends to still be seen as a supplement to a lot of the different ways that you can advertise through traditional means. That when you talk about value added, it's that idea that say if you are advertising with a radio station, they may include advertising on the website as value added or something that is included with the package of the radio advertising. Same with TV and print and those sorts of things. Internet advertising is becoming more and more of a thing in and of itself on its own, especially where you are seeing a lot more people use the net as the primary source of entertainment. But again, the trouble is that we still have a hard time valuing what the worth is of that advertising. It's not as clear as some of the measurements that we have to be able to value television advertising and radio advertising, or print advertising for that matter. The report suggests that a website should be an advertisement in itself. So the way it's looking at that is that when you go to a certain website, that the information that's presented there should be in such a way that it's going to provide information that is attractive to the viewer of the website and serve many of the purposes that a traditional ad would, just in much greater detail, with much more space, with much more freedom to be able to present materials in different ways, to expand on the ways that traditional advertising would allow for being able to showcase products and services. So now, what do we sell online? Well, there's actually several things that can be considered. First, there's links. Anything on a web page that drives traffic to another site. And that's going to pretty much be kind of a general term for a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about here. Banners, typically a rectangle that looks like a little billboard. A lot of times you'll see these banners on the top of a web page, or you may even see vertical banners that go down the side of a web page. Many banners house an embedded link to the sponsor site, and that link creates a click-through. The most effective banners are targeted specifically to the user, They're targeted specifically to the user viewing the page based on the registration at the site, a previous link, the browser, affiliation, domain, all those sorts of things. It's kind of an intelligent ad, if you will. The way that the internet can track users and some of their preferences and the sites that they've viewed and their browsing history and all those sorts of things, it makes it easy for advertisers to be able to put its content up through a service that will monitor what people are viewing online, will monitor what their interests and tastes are, and be able to target that advertising specifically to them at the right moment. Click-throughs. Some banners are sold by impression, others by the number of times users click on the ad and link to the advertiser's website. So basically what we're talking about here is two different means of charging for the advertising that you see online. It could be that you're charged by the number of impressions. In other words, the number of times that your ad shows up to various people. You might pay for 10,000 views or 100,000 views or whatever. Or you may pay for an unlimited number of views, but then you pay each time someone actually clicks on the link. Called a pay-per-click sort of scenario there. The advertiser gets the sense of the results of the campaign with click-throughs rather than estimates that resemble radio or TV ratings. So impressions would be more kind of that traditional sort of means. But it would also, at the very least, still say that you're guaranteed that your ad's going to be seen 10,000 times or however many times you're promised in the campaign. But even more so, you get a sense of results when you get to see how many people actually click through on a particular link. One of the basic rules of selling and copywriting works in the multimedia environment in this way. Banners with the words "click here" increase click-through rates from 40% to 300%. While it may seem cheesy, while it may seem like a blatant, desperate ask, there is a philosophy of, include those words, "click here." And people see those words, they click on the words "click here," and they go to whatever that page is. So it does actually help when you include that sort of wording or some other sort of plea for people to click on a certain link in order to provide them with the information that you want them to receive or to take the action that you want them to take, i.e. purchasing something or investigating more on a particular product or going to a particular web page, whatever it may be. Buttons, like banners, buttons offer a click-through, but usually to a software download site. Keywords, when a search engine looks for a topic, it does so by keyword. And when you build websites, you can generally put in certain keywords, tags, descriptive titles that search engines all look for. Advertisers buy keywords that relate to products or services. The advertiser's banner is shown when the user searches for the advertiser's word. You're not seeing banners as much anymore on search engines per se, but you are going to notice that if you're using many search engines and you're searching for something, that the first several links that are going to be offered to you are going to be sponsored content. Portals, any site designed for searching content. So there's, Google and Yahoo and Bing and nowadays YouTube, would fit as a portal as well. Interstitials. These are flashes of imagery or branding information that appear between pages of a site. They're comparable to single frames of a TV commercial. So it would be like the advertisement that you see while a page that you were looking to go to is loading up in the background. And in most cases, you either have to wait for the ad to sit there and run its course, or wait several seconds and then click an X in the corner or something in order to get rid of the ad. That is called an interstitial. Pop-up windows, separate windows that appear over site content while a page is loading. This has become less and less of a thing lately, partly because of ad blockers that are included in a lot of different web browsers, but they're still a thing here and there. Offline ads, these are coupled with push content where the user requests tailored news or information. You see a lot of push content on your smartphones nowadays, with various apps that you have on your phone giving you different types of information related to that particular app. Some app creators will also use that to be able to provide sponsored content or to put marketing content of their own and send that to your phone. This also works in terms of email delivery as well. Inline ads, this type of ad is an online advertorial positions within a site, thereby adding credibility to an advertising message. So it's that kind of idea where they're providing certain types of information, but at the same time, they're also trying to promote a certain product or service or company. Sponsored content, another variation of an old media tactic. This refers to an advertiser's ownership of a site, the same way a TV advertiser owns a show or sporting event by purchasing sponsorship rights or naming rights, that sort of thing. A couple of items that are not in the book that are becoming increasingly popular to sell. Rich media advertising. Graphical animations and ads with audio and video elements that overlay the page or even float over the page. So it's kind of a new take on the pop-up ad, but it's much more interactive and catchy and a little more intrusive that you have to kind of work your way around. Rich mail. Your email client automatically calls up your internet connection and launches an HTML page in your email window. So a lot of times, if you get ads from companies that are powered by sources like Constant Contact and things like that, any time that you see an email that has a little more interactivity to it, that is called rich mail. Pre-rolls, audio or video advertisements that play prior to a consumer's desired content, and mid-roll would be the same thing, except it's in the middle of the content that you're trying to consume. When we talked about sponsored content earlier in terms of content that is a page is sponsored by a certain client or something like that. Sponsorships can also mean an endorsement or a read by a personality within an audio or video, within audio or video content that is sponsored as well. So, a lot of your Audible, for example, is a popular one with podcasts and that sort of thing. So, several different ways to be able to sell content through online advertising. All indications are that response to banners drops dramatically after the first or second viewing, so the best response rates come from banners bought for reach and not for frequency. Generally, you're not going to have people clicking on ads numerous times throughout their surfing of the web. So the idea is to buy a banner in such a way that you are able to connect with your target audience. They see your ad and they may see it several times before they actually take action on something. But you're not going to get response after response after response. If you do get response from your ad, you'll get it most likely just one time. So that is something to keep in mind with banner advertising at the very least. One tip that is provided out there by Thundered Lizard Productions, they say that you should buy small and buy for large sites, buy less than 10% of inventory from large sites, and buy wide. You want to buy lots of sites. And the idea here is that the more places that you are going to be able to have your ad seen on various different websites by various different services, the better your reach is going to be. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and advertise online with just one particular website or one particular company.